Welcome to the Wonder With Me podcast, where I, Dr. Tonia Winchester, invite you to get curious with me about all things mind-body healing, especially how we can unlock the incredible healing power of our unconscious minds, so that we can all get out of stress mode and go back into healing mode. We'll talk about how you can easily create healthy, sustainable self-care habits so that you can calm your mind, sleep deeply, wake rested, and enjoy happy, energized days. Ultimately, so that you can make a bigger difference in your well-being and that of your family and the world around you. These casual chats are for educational purposes only and don't constitute a therapeutic relationship. With all that said, let's get this episode underway. Come wonder with me. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Wonder With Me podcast. This is episode number 36, Clearing Emotions, again and again and again. In episode 35, I talked about this conversation that I had with my husband that spurred on the motivation and the inspiration to record an episode. And then at the end of the episode, I came back with a bit of an addendum that I had not originally recorded, but then over a couple nights after recording it, realized this is the thing that I want to add to the end of it. And I highly recommend going back and listening to that first, because it will set the stage nicely for what I'm about to share today and loop back nicely. I was talking about in my work with my mind-body clients how one of the first things that we do is clear what we call the big 5 emotions. And the big 5 emotions are anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. And to some degree, we all carry some flavor of these emotions in a way that our nervous system, our neurology is keeping. Because when we first experienced them, we didn't have the tools to be able to let them go. We experienced them in a way that was very raw and real, and we just didn't have the brain development to effectively integrate those experiences, learn from them, and be able to move on. So we keep them. And when we keep them, what that means is we get triggered back into those old emotions in our present moment when it may not be appropriate or warranted to do so. And those are the words that I use, the language that we use in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, around this. Is it appropriate and is it warranted? Now, wouldn't it be interesting for you if, I just used that language. Wouldn't it be interesting? At the end of episode 35, I proposed a question that I heard in this interview with the Dalai Lama, where when challenged to make an assumption about what he would feel if something negative were to happen to him, and I use that word negative in quotations because it is just an interpretation, and being provoked into this question, he simply said, wouldn't it be interesting to find out what would free up for you in your life if you no longer experienced emotions from the past or anticipated negative emotions in the future? What would that free up for you? What would that allow you to be or do or have in your life, or feel or experience? Clearing the big 5 with clients is a really rewarding session. It usually happens within a 2-hour session. And at the end of that, when I challenge my clients to find those emotions in the past, in the future, in the way that they experienced it before, they can't. We disconnect, we sever the tie from those old unresolved events to the now, or from the now, I should say. We unhook those triggers that at the time couldn't be processed, couldn't be effectively healed. We recoup our energy back from those energy drains, and then we're freed up in the moment to have choice, to get at cause of our own emotional experience. So we're no longer at effect of those things in the past. We're no longer the victim of what was beyond our ability to process, integrate, and heal at the time. In my work as a client on a path of personal growth and development towards greater success in my health, in my life, in my business, I will admit that since I've learned about clearing the big 5 in 2021, as a client, I've gone through that process 6 times. And I think it's one of my most effective personal growth tools that I employ and practice. Except, of course, the stuff that I do daily that is incredible and powerful and builds over time in beautiful ways. Often when I work with clients in what we call a breakthrough, which is about a 3-month coaching container, mind-body healing coaching program, I'll lose touch with them after. We've done the work that we set out to do, and off they go. They leave the nest. And when they do come back and they say, you know what, something's just not right. I'm not doing as good as I was immediately after the breakthrough. And I'll look at my notes and I'll say, well, we haven't cleared the big 5, since a year ago, a year and a half ago. And they'll say, well, I thought I cleared them. Why do I have to clear them again? And that's a great question. Why do you have to clear them again? And 3 of my NLP teachers have all said that they should, to use a should word I don't love, but let's just say ideally the big 5 are cleared once a year or twice a year. Why? Why is it when I leave my house that I don't look in my side rear view mirrors for about 15 minutes? I live rurally, which is one of the hardest words in the English language for my mouth to wrap itself around. Rurally. Gosh, that's hard. Rurally. I live rurally in the forest, in the temperate rainforest of Vancouver Island. And I drive for 15 minutes before I encounter city or traffic or streetlights. I just drive through the forest for 15 minutes and I look ahead. And the odd time I look behind in my rearview mirror, in case there's some dickwad racing down the road even faster than I am, who's coming up behind me. It isn't until I turn onto an urban highway that I realize, oh my gosh, I haven't checked my side mirrors for 15 minutes. And suddenly I can't see out of them and I realize, oh my gosh, my husband's been driving my car. And he's 6'4" and I'm 5'2", which is a many inch difference. And he's adjusted all the things. And so now that I'm in this lane with a lane beside me and a lane beside that, and my mirrors aren't adjusted, I can't see what's happening around me. And so I adjust my mirrors, and now I can see these things behind me, these things on either side of me that I hadn't needed to see before. Before someone clears the big 5, they don't know that they need to clear the big 5. And once they've cleared them, they think, gosh, how did I live so long not having cleared these? And then they drive on for a while. And life is peachy, like driving through a beautiful temperate rainforest. And then suddenly things change. They make a new decision that they need some new perspectives on. They need to free up some capacity about. And suddenly there's past stuff that they need to address to be able to move on to the thing that they want to do. And it's not that the stuff just appeared. The stuff was always there. They just hadn't needed to see it because it hadn't been holding them back before. But now that they've taken this new direction, maybe they've decided to take on a new job role, or maybe they've decided to move in with their lover, or maybe they've decided to really make a commitment. And now suddenly there's this anchor to this past. There's this tether to this painful experience, this unresolved experience in the past, which is now, because it's the present, unwarranted and inappropriate. But yet there's this automatic patterning that's happened there. And so to be able to move forward in this new direction, now when we would work together, we would re-angle those mirrors and look at those old things in a way that's safe and effective and gentle, by the way, so that they can get the big perspective of what's where and where they're going and what they need to face to be able to do that. We go through life and we have an experience that will trigger us back into some emotional pain body, and we may not even be aware of the roots of that in a conscious way, because likely it happened when we were very young and unable to make that kind of conscious link. And that thing's holding us back as we're trying to make this new decision in our life. And when we release that, we can make that new decision, make that swift progress, have the success in this new area, and then we go on like that until, boom, there's something there. And there's something there now because it's always been there, but we just hadn't needed to look at it before because we hadn't been on that course before. Another analogy would be if you were, say, stumbling around in a dark room and you were going in one direction and you stub your toe on an object, and let's say you kick the object out of the way. And now your path is free again and you turn the corner and boom, you stub your toe on a different object. That object was always there in the room, in this scenario that I've made up. That object, that second object, was always there, but you didn't need to kick it out of the way before because it wasn't in your way before. So the reason why I don't realize that my husband's driven my car and adjusted my mirrors for 15 minutes of driving is because I hadn't needed to look in those mirrors before, or I hadn't needed to look in those mirrors until I got onto a highway. It's a single lane road out of my house to the highway for 15 minutes. So why do we need to clear the big emotions, the big five? Often it's because of this. It's because of new choices that we're making that are taking us in new directions that suddenly trigger us into our old pain body. And this is why. And importantly, I do talk about in other podcasts, for what purpose? For what purpose is this thing being re-triggered and blocking us from moving forward? Well, that's going to be personal, the for what purpose. But it will be something like this. For the purpose of learning from the past, integrating, healing, transforming, and finding the liberation that comes from the power of choice in the present moment. Wouldn't it be safer, better, more interesting, more fun if in any given moment you were free to say, this is how I'm choosing to think, to feel, to behave, and these are the results that I'm choosing as a result of all of those things. These are the benefits that I'm choosing because I'm choosing to think this way in this present moment. I'm choosing to feel this way in this present moment. I'm choosing to behave this way in this present moment. Look at the amazing results that are going to come as an effect of that. An effect of you being at cause of your cognitive state, your emotional state, your neurology. This is for what purpose? I have more to say on this. This topic excites me so much. I'm going to do more podcasting about this topic, about clearing these emotions, what it means for us in our lives, how it can help us be our best versions of ourselves, how it's something that we humbly get to do more than once, ideally often, not as often as, say, my morning visualization practice. It doesn't need to be that often, but regularly, semi-annually, annually, this type of work. And it's not work, it's a very enjoyable experience, actually, relaxing and fun. This type of work invites us to reach our greatest potential. And I invite you to give that a go. I take on clients regularly that I go through this process with. It's not a long-term commitment. It's not that you need to sit in a chair with me for 5 years every week and hash out the details of your past. I don't frankly care about the details of your past, not because I don't care about people transforming and finding this liberation that I'm talking about, but because I don't need to know it to facilitate the transformation and the liberation that I'm talking about. I don't need to know it as a practitioner, as a coach. And the majority of the time, I have no clue the details of the events or the emotional experiences that we're working to resolve. I don't have a clue. And I love that. It's freeing for me as a practitioner. I don't need to get bogged down by the details. I don't need to be impacted, which would be my own choice to become a cause of what I was just saying. It would be my own choice to take it on as my own wound. But it's also freeing for my client because they don't need to say the same thing over and over and over again for it to be healed and resolved. We just need to go in with these neurological reprogramming techniques and offer the beautiful exchange that happens when we do let go of these emotions. We exchange the emotions for learnings that we can carry forward with us. So now we don't need to feel the emotion from the past because we've got the learning that we need to be able to move forward. So instead of paving the same neural pathway by telling the same story over and over again, we just move forward. So if moving forward is something that you want, if you're ready to adjust your mirrors and have a clear view of what's now and what's ahead and what's past, look me up. ToniaWinchester.com is the best place to do that. A great starting place is my first book, Breakthrough the Insomnia Cycle. A pending starting place is my new book that's about out, Thinking Kindly, 7 Steps to Stop Self-Criticism and Change Negative Thoughts into Positive Ones. And as I talked about in episode 35, really what I'm meaning is change unhelpful thoughts into helpful ones. And then also a third starting point is to have a conversation. On the page, ToniaWinchester.com, at the bottom is a chat bot. You can drop us a message. We can set up a time to have a conversation about where you're at, what you're wanting in your health or your life, and if what I've been describing today is a fit for you to be able to get there. It excites me to no end that people can reclaim authorship of their emotional experience so that they can drive to the place in life that lights them up. They can make an impact. They can improve the lives of others. The ripple effect of people transforming is my greatest inspiration. So, thank you so much for listening. I will catch you in the next one, and I do hope that you check out any of those resources that I just listed. And in the meantime, may you choose to make all of your dreams come true. Hey, thanks for wondering with me today. If you've got something good out of this, then please forward this episode along to the people who you know could benefit. Be sure to subscribe, and if you're really keen, you leaving us a rating and review helps us to help more people, so thank you in advance for that. If you're wanting more insights about how you can leverage the power of your unconscious mind to go back into healing mode, head on over to toniawinchester.com, where you'll find my book, Breakthrough the Insomnia Cycle, and other helpful ideas. Thanks again, and we'll connect on the next episode of the Wonder With Me podcast. In the meantime, may you choose to make all of your dreams come true.